Now, first of all, it's so good to see you, man. It is
Absolutely.
so good to be face to face.
Yes.
To be able to enjoy this moment together. I'm excited about what is about to be shared and the impact that's going to happen. First, I want you to take us back to January the 14th. What was going on? What was taking place? And what happened on that day?
So I normally work out. I go through a process where I stretch. I get on the treadmill for about 5 to 10 minutes to warm my body up. And I do my workout about 35, 40 minutes. And for some reason on this day, on January the 14th, I decided that I am going to go and get some shots up. You know, I play basketball and I love to play basketball. And I just had this urge to just go get some shots up. And so as I'm out on the court shooting, the Holy Spirit gave me an experience that I wanted to share with people. And so I set my phone down to record it. And the recording was going to be, I was going to record myself and I was going to get the audience to take a snapshot of how many shots that I missed. So I was going to get them to focus on my misses. But at the end, I was going to share with them how many I made, because chances are what you focus on, that's what you're going to remember the most. So I pretty much was going to guarantee that nobody was going to be counting the shots that I made. And so set the phone down, start recording it. And to be honest with you, I ran through 4 or 5 different takes because everything was not right the way I wanted to. But that last take, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And recorded myself. It was a perfect take. Set it down, took a couple shots, and that second shot that I took, it went off to the left, and I got it and I shot it and I made it. And so as soon as it came through the net, I took a step to go and get the rebound. And when I took that step, and on the video you can hear, and immediately I didn't know what had happened because I was in the gym by myself, and I was literally thinking it felt like somebody came up behind me and kicked me in the back of the leg. So I literally started looking for whoever was behind me. I didn't see anybody on the video. You can see me kind of hopping around. And I'm like, I'm looking at my foot and it's not working. I can't put pressure on it. I can't move it. And I'm like, something's not right. And so then I hop over to my phone to start the recording. And then I just had this excruciating pain. And so I called LaVon Jones, who works in the fitness center, and he came down. I called my wife. She works on campus. And LaVon came in and he looked at it and he said, Doc, I think you may have just bruised it or something. And I told him, I said, I think I ruptured it. He said, no. He said, most of the people that have ruptured it, they're in excruciating pain. And I wasn't, because I had already experienced the pain. So now it was just shock. And then my wife came down and she looked, and I told her, I said, I think I tore it. And so from there, I just made a call to the to the training center, and they got me some ice on it. And to be honest with you, Cameron, I went through this process of just trying to understand what just happened. And I think a lot of times when things happen to us, things that we don't plan, it's hard for us to kind of work through that initial phase of shock. And so that's kind of where I was. And that's how it started.
How did you pull yourself out of shock to actually think about, okay, strategically, what do I need to do next?
Yeah, I think for me, so number one, I think having good people around me kind of telling me what needs to happen next, that was very helpful. And so the game plan from there was I need to set up an appointment to get an MRI done. I mean, I can't go off of what I think, right? Because I'm not an expert in this. And so that afternoon, I had an appointment to see the doctor. And she looked at it and she said, I think you ruptured your Achilles. And she said, looks like it, you have all the symptoms. But she said, I can't confirm anything. I said, okay. I said, that's kind of what I thought. And then so the next day we had the MRI done. And then so I did it on Wednesday. We had the MRI done on Thursday. And so the following Monday, we had the doctor's visit to read the MRI. And so we had that read Monday morning, and the doc said, he said, yeah, it's ruptured. And he gave me a couple of options. And I already knew what I wanted to do, but he told me, he said, the first option is it can heal on its own. He said, some people, they don't have surgery. You'll be in a boot 5 to 6 months. And he said it can heal on its own. Now he did say, now the re-rupture rate is higher. I said, okay, I understand. He said the other option is surgery. And before he started explaining everything, I said, I want to do surgery. I said, I want to tackle this thing head on because that's what I need at this point. And so he walked me through that process, and we had surgery the following Thursday.
Wow. So literally a week apart.
A week apart.
About
A week apart.
Everything changes. So before we get to the surgery, before we get to after the surgery, which I'm really excited to hear about, that journey, that process, I want you to tell us, what was your mindset between that Wednesday night and that Monday hearing the results from the doctor? What was going through your mind? What were you sorting through mentally?
I think just trying to get to a place of acceptance. I knew things was going to be different from that Wednesday going forward. I didn't know how long, but I knew things were going to be different. And so I really needed to just get into a place of acceptance. There's nothing I can change. There's no one I could blame. It just happened. And I will say this, in the past, it usually took me a little longer to get to acceptance. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck at times when things happen. It's hard for them to accept it. And so I got there pretty quick. Yeah, I got there pretty quick.
What got you there that quick? Was it where you were already mentally, like the work you've done on yourself? How did you know I got to hear him get to this stage?
I think it's a combination of all the above. I think writing this book really helped me because I started thinking about some of the concepts that I have in there. Mindful awareness, that's that first part of that framework. And I had to get there pretty quick. And so I had to get to a place of, I know I pray, I know the scriptures. And so now I had to transition from all of those things I know, now apply. And the most important thing, applying these things didn't mean me going out doing something. No, it was peace, be still. Just peace, be still in your mind. And so when I had already known that it was ruptured, I just needed everybody else to just confirm it. And so it was like that hurry up and wait process.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much how I got there.
And now it's time to know what our options are, select which option we're going with, make a decision.
Make a decision.
Right?
That's
and
right.
then move in that direction. So now take us to surgery day. So now surgery day. What was that like?
I think surgery for me, it was more about exciting because it's going to get fixed. But lo and behold, that I did not know that after surgery was going to be part of probably the toughest time. So leading up to surgery, I was more excited. That's one thing that I've learned about this process is that once I get to a stage, okay, I experienced that. Okay, that's done. Now I'm looking forward to the next stage. And so that's what this process has been for me this whole time. But I have realized that even when I get to the next stage, there is an excitement of being to the next stage, but then there's a reality that sinks in that, okay, you thought this next stage was going to be this. No, it's actually this. And it's a little bit worse than what I thought. But that was only for a season. And so that was exciting. And so surgery day, I was really excited. I knew that once I go under and when I wake back up, it's going to be all over. But also now I'm back at square one as well. So the day of surgery, it was a normal day. I think it took about 2 hours. And it took me a couple of days to really get over the anesthesia, just that whole experience. And I think the second day after surgery was probably the toughest day.
Why is that?
I think because of the meds that I was on and then the anesthesia, I didn't have a good experience with it. And but I got through it. And I think once I got through that, then it was like, okay, now just keep it in ice and keep it elevated as much as I could possibly do. And I will tell you this, the nerve block that they gave me, which normally lasts 28 to 48 hours, mine lasted 6 days. So I was blessed. I was literally blessed. My pain meds, I didn't have to take a lot of those. So my body really responded to the nerve block.
There's a part of me that feels like it's because your mindset was in the right place before the medicine, before the medical process. the mindset was already locked in, right, towards recovery. You the first person I ever met that said, I'm excited about surgery. That's because your mindset was, this is the beginning to really the next chapter. And I can't control what happened. I was just playing basketball. I was trying to get in better shape. You know, I was doing the right things.
That's right.
Can't control that. But what I can control is my mindset moving forward. What would you say was the lowest part for you, like where potentially depression could have come in, the dark clouds? When was that?
I think so. Once I had the surgery, I had a splint, and so a splint is more of a soft cast. We're just on the outside where they can get access to it straight down the middle. So that splint was it was not as bad because I was able to really deal with the swelling because I could adjust it. And so I think I had that on probably maybe 3 to 4 weeks. And well, let me back up. The first splint that I had on there, after 1 week, it was too tight. I mean, so it was swelling, it was tight, it was painful. And so I called them and they got me in a week later and they changed that one out. But the best thing about that is I got a chance to look at the incision 1 week out. And I took a picture of it and my physician, he was like, this looks great. I mean, it looked great. It looked like I was 3 weeks out from surgery. So that was really encouraging because once, after that, I was like, I wonder what it looks like. I wonder what it looks like. So I got a chance to look at it. It looked great. The swelling was down. The incision was not bleeding. I mean, it looked perfect. And so they put another splint on and I had to go another 3 or 4 weeks with that splint. And then after that, I came back and then they took that splint off and then took the stitches out. And so now, once the stitches were out, now they put a cast on. I mean, a full-blown cast. The cast is what seemed like it brought on a sensation of depression. Because if you've ever had a cast on, you can't move it, you can't adjust it. I mean, it locks you down. And those were the dark days that I had, just having something on you that you can't do nothing about. And so that was the tough time for me.
Now, what's interesting for me is knowing the inside of your book and knowing that you wrote this book from the perspective of how do you help an organization? How do you help a leader that feels like a cast has been put on their growth, on their potential, on what's possible? I mean, you talking about the pyramid of possibilities. When a cast is on you, you can't see any of that. What did you learn in that moment?
I learned that I go back to this awareness piece. The sensations that I was feeling, they were not the truth. They were an illusion. And so I became really aware that, okay, Sam, you feel this way, but you got to remember your feelings are coming from not the cast, but how your perception is about the cast.
Yeah.
And so it took me some time to do that, though. I mean, it's not like it happened like that. I mean, I was there for a little bit. And then I realized, Sam, you can't stay here and get to where you want to be. And so I realized, okay, Sam, you're feeling this way because of how you're perceiving this cast. This cast is doing exactly what it's designed to do, to stabilize the injury, to protect the injury, to make it stronger. And when I started looking at it through that lens, I shifted my mind in terms of what the cast was there for. And when I shifted my mind, I shifted my feelings. And so that's the power that we have. And that's why I wrote that book, Momentum Mindset, because I think so many of us, we don't realize that we've learned so much in life that when something else happens, we forget everything we've learned.
And I love how you took the facts about the cast. You didn't ignore it.
Didn't ignore it.
You didn't try to dismiss it.
Right.
But you took the facts of that and you built a better story.
Absolutely.
You built a momentum mindset
Absolutely.
behind what could have been an anchor that would have kept you in that moment of depression. That's interesting. Like a cast on your foot was not a cast on your future. But you had to see it differently.
I had to see it differently.
Yeah.
That's right. And I had to shift my mind. And if we can just learn, I think this awareness piece is so important because sometimes we're just not aware. But when we are aware, let's shift to accept it pretty quick and then adapt. Because that's the key. And so once I did that, I realized, okay, the cast is serving its purpose. And the next thing you know, I was going the next day to get the cast off. So it didn't last as long as I thought it should have. And so once the cast was off, now, because I was looking forward to the cast being off, and I was also looking forward to getting into a walking boot.
Okay.
Because in my mind, once I get the walking boot, I'm walking. But that was not the journey.
What really happened?
What really happened was when I got the walking boot, I'm not supposed to be putting pressure on it because it's not time yet. It's not time. Even though it's a walking boot, it's still not time. So even through this process, I've learned to recognize that wherever you want to be, when you get there, that's still part of another season. And you still have to wait in that season. And so when I got there, I'll never forget it. I went and saw my doctor on March the 16th. And I have the walking boot on. I'm on crutches. And this is the first time I think through this experience where I felt like I was overwhelmed with some expectations that were not mine. March 16th, he looked at me and he said, you have the walking boot, you have your crutches. He said, when I see you next month, April the 20th, I want to see you, but I don't want to see the crutches. And in that moment, I said, okay, but I felt the pressure, okay? That was March 16th. Well, March 23rd, that following Monday, is when I started physical therapy. And when I left physical therapy, my therapist said, I want to see you using one crutch from this point going forward. So my first day in therapy, I complete the therapy, but before I leave, now I don't have two crutches anymore, I have one. And I was gonna put it on this side, and she said, oh no, I want it on this side because I need you putting more weight on it. I said, okay. Well, that was that Monday. Well, that following Thursday, I get out of the shower and I'm like, you know what? I finished my rehab at the house and I finished icing it, put the boot back on. And it was like a strength and a calm over me that said, looked at my crutches and said, you don't need them anymore. I literally stood up and started walking without the crutches. So this is a week after my doctor told me that he didn't want to see me in the following month. So here we are a week out, I'm done with the crutches. So I'm excited about walking in the boot. Well, I'm still doing therapy, PT. The following week, I get out of the shower, dry myself off, get dressed, and that same spirit came over me and said, looked at that boot and said, you don't need the boot. I started walking outside of the boot. And so that was really encouraging. And what I did from there is, I just started walking around the house without the boot, but whenever I went outside and we traveled and got around people, I put the boot on until I saw my doctor. Because I did not want to free myself from the boot without his permission. I wanted him to tell me, even though deep down I knew it was strong enough. And so went to the doctor and, he assessed it and rubbed it and was trying to get a reaction from me. And I'm just watching him and he could tell that it's not sore anymore.
It's strong enough.
It's strong enough. And so he looked at me and he said, so what do you want to do? I said, I'm ready to get out of this boot. He said, let's do it. And so that's that process in me walking again. And so this has been a really interesting journey and I've learned so much.
There's a part of me that feels like, Sam, you've gone through all four of the personalities and the levels, all the way to the pinnacle, right?
Yes.
And I don't want you to unpack all of them, but at least tell us what's the name of those levels that you had to go through, because we see it in our organizations, we see it in ourselves, we see it in the leaders around us.
Yes.
Because we all go through those levels until we make it to the top. So walk us through what the levels are and then how you at some point had to, I can't park here. I got to keep going.
Right. And what you're referring to is the pyramid of possibilities. And there are four levels, and 4 levels, 4 mindsets. And like you said, I went through every last one of them. And the first one at the bottom is called the stagnator. And I was there. I think I was there a couple of times. I was there when I almost went into depression with the cast. I was there, I think when it first happened, I was kind of stuck like, You know, why did this happen? How did this happen? I did all the right things. I'm doing the right thing, but it just didn't make sense. And so I had to shift from that stagnator mindset to the next level, which is a stickler. And I began to get stuck on, you know, what's next? What's next? And and I realized that, Sam, you can't control what's next. You need to control where you are. Just be where you are. And then went from that stickler mindset to that next mindset to the strategist. I mean, I'm like, you know what? I start comparing my injury to everybody else's injury. It's not as bad as I thought it was. It's not as bad as theirs, but it's bad enough. And sometimes that's what we do. We get complacent. And so this process, it didn't allow me to get complacent, because there was always expectations, you know, from surgery to getting the stitches out, to getting the boot. I mean, just every level has had some expectations. And I can even think about the equipment that I've had, right? So I have the scooter, I have the crutches. I had something on my right foot that's called an even up, and that was pretty good. And I had to find that on my own, because most people don't realize this. When you're in a walking boot, you're probably 2 or 3 inches. One side of your body is going to be 2 or 3 inches higher than the other one. And so the first week I was in the walking boot, my hip and my back was hurting. And so I'm part of a community of people who've had this injury before. So I had to learn from other people who've gone before me. And some people said that when you get a walking boot, you need to get something called an even up. And I was like, what is an even up? Well, even up, it evens up your body. So you put it on your right shoe or the opposite foot that you have the boot on, and it levels your body off. So you're walking evenly. So your gait is always straight the way it needs to be. And so I had to get that. And so there are small things that I've had to kind of add to my repertoire that I didn't even think about. And so many times as leaders, as organizations and entrepreneurs, we think we're going to do something and we think we know exactly what we need. No, you don't. You may think you want that result, but you have no idea what it takes to get it. And so, but every step of this journey has really helped me to expand my mindset and the capacity to help more people, just because of this experience.
Absolutely. Because you've gone through a journey. It's not just the book, but now the book has a backbone.
Absolutely.
And that backbone was your journey. You talk about the results that we want, and we see, particularly in other people, in other organizations, we want that same result. Don't realize that result is on the other side of a paywall.
Absolutely. And listen, this last piece, I forgot to mention that. So we got to the strategies, but the top of that pyramid is a synchronizer mindset. And that's when you begin to sync up. You don't fight everything. You start aligning with everything. And I tell you, man, I'm like, this has been such a wonderful blessing for me, because each phase, I didn't fight anything. I surrendered to everything. I surrendered to my doctors. I'm still surrendering to my physical therapists. I'm surrendering to everything, because they know what it takes. And I think about Jesus when he said, agree with thy adversary quickly. And that's when you learn how to just surrender and submit, because when you get in a line with authority, you begin to have authority. And so, my doctor, he said to me, when he first took my stitches out, he leaned in and he said, how you feel? I said, I feel great. I said, I'm so excited. He said, I'm excited for you. And the funny thing is, every time I went to the doctor, I heard wisdom that I need to apply, but then I can help other people with. He leaned up and he said, I want you to know, we got the stitches out. You're doing well. He said, my job was to put you back together. It's your job to complete the healing. And I understood exactly what he was saying. He said, don't go and break what I fixed. The rest is up to you now. And so I received that wholeheartedly. I embraced that. And so, so many times when we're helping leaders and helping organizations, they still have to own the results. So I'm owning the results, and I'm still excited about it. Right.
Pay for it in the pain, in the overcoming the mindset for every level. and making it all the way to becoming a synchronizer in this experience.
That's right.
And
That's
you
right.
made it all the way to the top. But it's a decision.
Yes.
It's a decision. What scares us about making a decision that I'm not stopping at this level? There's a higher level. It has my name on it. What helps us with that?
Well, let me back up. So the thing that scares us is the experience that we already have. And we think what we already know is good enough for what's next. And it's not. That experience was just good for that experience. But this new experience, this new moment is calling for something that's in you that you don't even know that's in you. It wants to call it out of you. And so it's good to be part of a community. It's good to have a network of people that you can lean on to encourage you. And we have to learn how to celebrate small wins. For me, just a small win of being able to know that the swelling has gone down and that there was a breakthrough. It's every morning, not every morning, but most mornings I tell my wife, I say, baby, there was a breakthrough last night. And she'd want me to describe it. And I say, you know, I felt the tension just leave. And I was describing it to her. And so just those moments, but you have to be in tune. Mm-hmm. You really have to be engaged and in tune with what's happening with your body. Leaders have to be in tune with what's happening with their teams. So we do that with our relationships and how we listen and how we perceive and how we understand. And that's what it's really all about. And this process has really helped me to do that better than ever.
I have told you from day one that I love the logo that is on the front of the Momentum Mindset.
Yeah.
Because it shows that this kind of mindset has infinite possibilities. Infinite possibilities.
That's right.
Once you learn this for your company, your organization, your leadership, you can apply it to your health. You can apply it to your relationships. You can apply it to whatever is next for you in life. How have you felt the power of that infinite possibility weaving throughout this process for you?
It's just become more real for me. When I first started this speaking career, like a lot of young speakers, a lot of rookies or first year students, I think this applies to us all. We get in and we look around at the landscape and we compare ourselves and we wonder and we say, well, I can't do it like them and I can't do it like them and I wish I could do it that way. And so we criticize ourselves because we don't have that confidence. But if we stick with it long enough, you'll find your voice, you'll find your message. And so for me, in the speaking industry, I picked up a little bit tidbits here and there from people and learned and still trying to find my own way. But I was always still looking for my message. Mm-hmm. My thing, this is mine. And so 2 years ago when I was doing coaching calls and listening to my clients, and when we would finish up our last call, I would always ask them, please tell me, what did I help you with? Tell me, what did I help you accomplish? And it took five of my clients I had to hear it over and over and over, and the Holy Spirit said, do you hear what they're saying? They would say, well, Dr. Jones, first thing, you helped me with my mindset. You literally helped me with my mindset. And the second thing that they would say is, and you also helped me to build some momentum. And so one day I got off the call and I said, hold on, momentum, mindset? And immediately I went online and I started doing research. Is there anything out there on this? Is there anything in the marketplace on this? And I didn't see anything. And that day, that's when I got it trademarked. And from there, I just started asking questions, more questions. Okay, tell me, what was the first initial phase of me helping you with your mindset and building momentum? And then I started seeing mindful awareness. I started seeing reflective evaluation. I started seeing intentional clarity. And that's the first part of the people insights in the book. And so that's what I started. And so guess what? I just started doing my research on it. And so this book is a culmination of me listening to my clients.
You started to obsess over their results.
Absolutely.
And because of that passion, because of that curiosity, it led you on a journey. Didn't know that it would explode on January the 14th.
Absolutely.
Didn't know that journey would bring you to this moment. What would you say as a line of encouragement for somebody that's on the fence that may be saying, I think it may be too late for me. I think it may be out of my reach to have a moment of mindset. I think I'll be stuck forever. What would you say to that person?
The first thing that I would say to that person is, number one, you are at a crossroad. Because the fact that you are aware enough to say that I don't think I can, that's a crossroad. There's some people not even thinking that, they're just going on and not even thinking about it. The fact that they are there, they're at a crossroad. The second thing that I would say is, what evidence do you have to say that it's not possible? There isn't any. And since there isn't any evidence to confirm that you can't, there's tons of evidence that say you can. And so I would just encourage them to get on a path of becoming more curious about yourself, about your experiences, about what you love to do, and put that energy there. Because that's where your gifts are. That's where your skills and talents are. And one of the things that I've learned through this process, Cameron, and writing this book is that our gifts are not for us. They are not for us. Me writing this book is not for me. It's for people who are aware enough to recognize that they're stuck and that they know they need a system. They know they need a better strategy. They know they need support. That's who this book is for.
And I love that the book doesn't just give you one system and just leave you hanging. It is the cast, the boot, the scooter, the crutches, right? It's the whole package of this is how you implement it, and not just how you implement it, but when to implement it, the timing.
Oh my goodness, timing is so important. Because my wife and I, when this first happened, we started outlining the things that we need to start getting. And so the first thing that we needed to get was a scooter. Well, we went and rented one. But after 2 days of renting one, and we realized, hold on, I might need this scooter for 4 or 5 months. And based on what we're paying to rent it, we might as well buy one. So guess what we did? We went and purchased one. And we purchased one that was a little bit bigger, more sturdier. And then we realized, we said, whenever we get to the next phase, we're going to wait to decide what we need to purchase. And so that timing is so important. So when you know you're going to need something, don't try to get it right now. Wait until you get there, because you'll have a better understanding as to what you need.
Yeah.
And that's what each level, each accelerate in the book, that's what it helps readers to do. I don't want them to start in the middle of the book. No, you need to start at the beginning of the book, because you need to understand the foundation. You need to understand what kind of mindset are you currently located and what it takes to level up. And then when you do level up, here's some accelerators to help you. That's really what it's all about.
I love it. I love it. In what you see with leaders, whether we want to accept this part or not, we're all in the business of sales. We're selling a vision.
That's right.
We're selling a future. We're selling a path and a plan. Sometimes it's a product.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's a service.
Yes.
But so many of us, we are afraid to sell. We are afraid to say there's a paywall between the results you want and actually achieving it.
Yeah.
There was a verse we talked about recently, Proverbs 11:26. It says, he that withholdeth the corn, the people will put a curse on him, but a blessing is on the head of him who selleth it.
Yes.
What was that speaking to you most recently?
It was speaking to me that we have to pay a price. Everything that we want, a price has to be paid. And somehow we have been conditioned in society that paying a price is a bad thing. Most people, and I did it too, we want a discount, we want a hookup. But the hookup doesn't hook you up. It actually slows you down. And so if we can learn to invest in ourselves, funny thing, my wife and I, whenever we're giving tips and doing small things, we always recommend to go with the higher amount. If we have an option, we go with the higher amount. And so recently we went somewhere and I think I got the change back and it was like $16 left and I was gonna give like a $6 tip. And my wife looked at me and she said, why don't you give the 10? I said, you know what, you're right. So I gave the 10 instead. And we began to talk about it. And I said, baby, thank you for reminding me because this is what we've talked about. And so even that, I needed help in that. And so that's why we need to be connected to people who can help us to stretch ourselves. If we believe something, get around people who's going to stretch what you believe. And so, yeah, we have to pay that price. And when we read that scripture, it just reminded me that we need to be selling. We need to be putting our value out there.
Yeah, and when you put the value out there, the person can say yes, or they can say no, but you have not withheld that opportunity. You hadn't withheld the option, right? For
Right.
a higher cost,
Right.
a higher value, and
That's
a higher
right.
result. They have the opportunity to say yes or say no. And then the blessing is for you, right, as the one that's given the value, but then there's an infinite blessing
Absolutely.
that's on them when they apply it. That
Absolutely.
particular verse in one translation says that he withholdeth the corn. And I thought that was interesting because corn has seed
Yes.
attached to the product.
That's right.
So you can eat half of it and then you can develop the other half to go back out into the field to replenish,
That's it. Yes.
to replace. Right?
Yes.
So when you think about the investment that they're making, it actually puts them in the category of being vested.
Yes. If you don't invest, you can't be invested. And what does that really mean? It means you will not get, you will be guaranteed a return. And what I think about now is when people say no to anything that I'm offering for sale, if they say my fee is too high, whatever reason they come up with, I acknowledge now that has nothing to do with me. They're saying no to this opportunity. They're saying no to themselves. And so I've had to shift my mind on that. When I first started my speaking career, man, I would speak to anybody, anywhere, for any amount of money on anything, right? But as I've evolved, I understand the value and the price that I've paid. And so when I know I've paid a price, well, guess what? Everything that I produce costs something because it has value. And so, I think all of that process is really about that and really the seed concept, that's so important. Even just us recording this video right now, this is a seed. We're investing our time. You invested your time to be here. I invested my time to set anything up, and we're just here just having a conversation. And someone is going to listen to this and they're going to resonate with, it's going to resonate with where they are. And they're going to need that little nudge to go out and either buy a book, buy this book, buy a program, get coached, whatever it is. And they're going to get an immediate return on that. And that's going to turn into something. And it's going to keep turning into something. But first they have to plant it.
You got to plant it. You got to plow it.
Plant it, plow it, produce it, harvest it.
And then present it. And don't be afraid to present the solution.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid. Every one of us, God has put a measure of his faith inside of each and every last one of us.
Yes, he has.
Don't be afraid of it.
Yes, he has.
Share it.
Yes,
Give
he
it.
has.
It wasn't for you. This book, Momentum Mindset, was for me. This book, Momentum Mindset, was for the listener. It was not for Dr. Sam Jones.
Amen.
So on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you for going the extra mile to produce what God put on the inside of you, and produce not just the ideal and the concept, but the full system. So
Absolutely.
help us go from being stuck to being successful.
Absolutely.
Dr. Jones, I appreciate it.
Man, listen, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you just taking the time out of your schedule to be here and do this. And this is kingdom work. And one of the things that I really want people to understand is that the kingdom of heaven is here. And we have to learn how to recognize it and align with it and operate within it and be submissive. And whatever God puts on your heart to do, go and do it. Don't question, don't think you know everything, don't think you got to have everything in line. Just go do it. Just go do it. So thank you, brother. Thank you, man.